All right, so today we're going to be taking a look at the BBA, or Bristol Based Airsoft G&G LevAR Enhanced Tappet Plate, and this is aluminum, and this is just a replacement for obviously the tappet plate, which is plastic inside of the G&G LevAR. The stock tappet plate is not the best. I had a pre-release version of the LevAR back before it was even released, and the one that I had, the nozzle slipped off of the tappet plate multiple occasions. I haven't had any issues with mine yet, but I've been a lot gentler with mine than the pre-release one. The pre-release one had like 10 different people before me. So I've been gentle and I haven't had any issues, but I believe that in the future I will run into issues for reliability with the tappet plate over time if I don't change it out. And right now, this is the sort of the only aluminum one that's on the market. So we're going with this one. We can go ahead and get started. This is actually not big of a pain to disassemble. All right, so the first step is removing the whole grip area on here. I have already removed the stock just to make it fit easier in the frame, but you do not need to remove the stock. You can take apart the grip without removing the stock. All right, before you remove the pins like I have, you need to make sure that you depressurize it by pushing the hammer all the way forwards and letting all the gas vent out if you have a gas like stock green gas. If you have HPA, it doesn't matter because it's not going to contain anything inside. So there's these two pins here. You need to punch out those two pins, and they are actually different lengths. So remember which one goes where, because they are a tiny bit different in length. All right, this piece completely slides out. And then on the inside, there is one screw. It's going to be difficult to see, but it's that one there that the light is shining on. You need to unscrew that. Okay. And now that that's removed, the whole grip area is done. Next, we need to remove the lever. The lever is, it can be annoying to remove, especially if you have short strokes like me. I have short strokes, so my lever does not really move that much. That's as far as it goes. Yours is going to do a lot more if you don't have short strokes in your gun already. But this pin needs to pop out. And then it can shimmy itself out eventually. Okay, there we go. This is a pain. You just have to kind of mess with it for a while. And at this point, we can remove the entire bolt. And then we can remove the nozzle. You need to press down on the tappet plate to remove the nozzle. And now we have just the receiver. There's only a couple things holding it together. There is on this side of the gun, if you have not already chosen to just get rid of it, the whole plate here with the magazine releases, that needs to come off. That screws into the actual gearbox. I don't use that, so it's way easier for me. I don't even have to worry about unscrewing those four. And the gun works perfectly fine without having that magazine release system there. We can remove the screws. All right, and the last thing holding the gearbox inside of the receiver is this selector switch. There is a ball bearing detent under there, so be careful. Okay, and now we should be able to remove the entire thing from the receiver, which is pretty easy, like so. And we should make sure it's fired to relieve any tension on it. And now we can remove all of these screws. There's 6 of them. I'd probably leave the one that's on the hammer last, because that one actually does something. That's sort of like the axle for the hammer. But all the other ones just hold it together. And now we can remove it. Now there is the ball bearing inside that you need to be a little bit careful of. I've not had any issues with it shooting across the room, but it potentially could. As you can see, it's right there, and that is kind of annoying. But it is definitely possible for it to go flying, so be careful. Now, tappet plate, it's going to go right here. We obviously need to remove that screw. And I don't believe there's anything else here once that screw has been removed. Don't believe so. So that tappet plate can go away. And we have the aluminum one. Now, if we look at them, they should be essentially the same. The plastic one does have this like spine on it, and that's obviously to reinforce it because it's plastic, it's not metal. But aside from that, they are essentially the same. It looks like the sort of notch is a little bit taller on the aluminum one compared to the plastic one. So hopefully that will hold on to the Waldo one a little bit better. Maybe that will keep it in place. Actually, yeah, I think that's going to be perfect. That'll fix one of my issues with the Waldo nozzle. The Waldo nozzle is nice, but it doesn't sit great. It sort of wobbles around. This looks like this might fix the wobble issue, although we won't find out until we get closer to installing, or until we get it back together. Now, let's see how it goes on here. Definitely moves. It is definitely very scratchy. So we are going to use some PTFE Super Lube, and I don't really care about putting too much on. It's not a big deal, especially in this case, because this is just a sliding. And it should smooth out over time, just as anything would. So it looks like, is that not going to move forwards all the way? This might need to be modified. Yeah, it's sort of grinding a little bit, but I think it'll be fine. I don't know, there's probably way too much on there, but that'll be fine. Now we can screw the screw back in. I don't like that sound. We may need to take this apart and polish it later. Right, but we can go ahead and put it back together for now. Now, one thing to keep in mind, this hammer is probably going to fall out, and there's also the safety selector piece, which will probably also fall out. It fell out on me when I took this apart for the first time. Let's see if we can get it out. All right, so this is the safety selector piece. It is on this side. It sits in this big hole here, and you want the little stem part to be pointing forwards in this direction when you set it down in there. So it'll look like that, if you can see. And then at this point, once you have this safety in here, you kind of want to let the whole receiver always sit in this orientation so it doesn't flop out, because if it moves, you're not going to be able to put the gun all the way back together. And then obviously hammer and this piece goes underneath it like this. And then it slots into a slot inside of the back here. If you carefully look, you can see it. But It's right there. I don't know if you can see it, but it's basically under, it's like a slot that's under where the safety is. All right, and this hole is going to line up with the screw hole on the gearbox. And when you put this together, you want to do that one first, because obviously that one actually does stuff. All right, once all the screws are in, now we can put it back into the gearbox. Now before you do, just double check that you can see the safety is still in a correct orientation, which mine is. You need to make sure that that stem is pointing forwards. And then you can put it inside of the receiver. Like so. And then the first part that I would put in is the safety, just because that is going to be the most annoying part. It looks like mine actually did fall out of place a little bit. So we'll see if I can push it into place or if we got to take it apart. The safety is definitely the most annoying thing because it really is just loose in there. I think we got it this time though. And then it should be able to move. Just make sure it moves back and forth. And if you look inside, you should see it move as well. But that's good. Now we can put in the two screws that actually hold it in snug. Okay. And Waldo nozzle will go in. I do not think we're going to get a definitive answer on the floppiness of this until we get it all together. And at that point, we won't be able to see it back here. We'll only be able to touch it in the front. But hopefully we'll be able to see. Because that was one of the main issues with the Waldo nozzle, is how floppy it was. All right, we can go ahead and put the bolt in. And the lever is always a bit of a pain. Okay, looks like we got the lever in. And this pin, it doesn't matter which way it goes through. And we can make sure it works. Put it onto fire. We can cock it, put it back, and it functions. Now we can feel the nozzle. No, it still is floppy. And it does actually spin around quite a bit still, which is definitely not desirable. That is really annoying. So like if you look at it, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but there is, I can rotate it quite a bit. And it is, of course, also going to be able to rotate when it's extended like so, which is very annoying because the whole purpose of this nozzle is that it's not supposed to rotate. So that's really annoying. And it is still a little bit floppy. So honestly, this may not be, I'd feel like it was way less floppy before. So this may be a negative upgrade, honestly, which is that is crazy. We can put the screw back in. And the last part is gas chamber. And I always forget, I believe the longer one goes on the bottom, the shorter one goes on the top. So longer, shorter, but not 100% sure. But let's see. Yeah, that looks like that was correct. So yeah, we have it all together now. So that's basically that. I'm definitely not happy that it's so floppy, and it spins a lot. I mean, I don't know. Let me see if I can get a Sharpie to show how much it spins, because it is not a good amount, because the whole purpose of this nozzle is that it stays in one orientation, and it moves more than it did before now. I have myself a Sharpie here, so hopefully you'll be able to see the rotation. Let's see. Right. Actually, here, let's hopefully you can see that black line. Look at how much it rotates. So it's just laying flat on the counter now, so that way I'm not twisting the extra receiver at all. That's how much it moves. Which is very disappointing. That essentially defeats the entire purpose of this nozzle. So, yeah. I guess that's it. Alright, so I have, obviously you've seen most of the video. I did take it apart, and I decided to go ahead and polish the top of this. Because it did actually look like it was not level. This whole area here was taller than the actual flat part on top of it. So now it should be essentially level. And testing it inside of the receiver here, it's going to be hard to see on camera, but it does not seem to drop or get stuck like it did when I installed it. So I'm hoping this will be fine. I'll check back when I put it all together, but that's what I did. All I've done so far is shave this up. Hopefully this might actually fix it for not grabbing on very well, because I also took apart the bolt, and it looked like it just was not sitting as high as it should have. And I think that's because it was getting stuck. This top part was getting stuck. It was getting caught up and causing it to drop, because it visibly looked like it was when I had this apart, trying to see if I could remedy the issue I was having. Hopefully when you buy this, you don't have to do this, because this is a step that you shouldn't have to take, but we'll see if this fixes it or not. I am also, I haven't done it yet, and I'm not going to show it. I'm going to add a shim on the bottom edge here, because it's in here. The top is smooth now, but it can still dip down a little bit. But now it's not being forced down like it was before. But I'm going to add a shim to hopefully fix that little gap there. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to put it together, and I'll come back to you. All right, I have it back together after polishing and adding a shim to make the tappet plate like fit properly in the little gap there. And long story short, did not really do much of a change. You know, it may have done a little bit better, but it definitely needs to be bent or something significantly more for it to interface properly, because that is not good. Because, you know, on a normal nozzle, like on an AEG, it's not that big of an issue if it rotates around. But in the case of this, there's a port that the gas goes through, and if you turn it sideways, that changes the size of the port that can go in like at once. So, you know, that's not great. And honestly, I don't like to be disappointed, but like I legitimately have been disappointed in all three of these products. I think they need to spend a lot more time tuning them and making sure they're ready to go before they put them out to market. Because what do I have right now? I have the short stroke kit, which was not even close to fitting. I have the Waldo nozzle, which is in collaboration with them, and it had this issue. It's loose. I honestly think it was less loose before I put this new tappet plate in. I could be wrong, but it was definitely way looser than the stock one. The stock nozzle does not wobble at all, which was like alarming when I put this nozzle in, and it was moving, but I assumed maybe if I got the new tappet plate, that would fix it. I got the new tappet plate, and it did not fix any of the wobbling at all. Now, I'm not afraid of it breaking like I was afraid of the plastic one breaking. But aside from the durability, I don't know if this is necessarily a worth it sort of upgrade. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's my video. Hopefully in the future they can sort out all these bugs, but I don't know. This is just my experience with it. Yeah, it definitely is a little bit less movement. There was more movement before I did these modifications on it, before I did the polishing, but it still does move quite a bit. But this is less than it was before. So I guess by modifying it substantially, it's better, but definitely not good yet, I would say. Because whenever it moves or changes, that kind of changes the amount of air that comes through the nozzle. So yeah. Have a nice day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if this video was useful for you. And make sure you check out the link down below. That is a link to our Discord server, and you are welcome to join. All right, have a nice day.